YouTube series, where I will attempt to play and review every single Yu-Gi-Oh game that has ever been released, past, present, and future, on every system, and see if any of them should be banished to the Shadow Realm. Today we will be continuing along the line of the original Japanese Duel Monsters video game series, with Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters 2 Dark Duel Stories.
First of all, just a little bit of housekeeping. My apologies to anyone coming into this video expecting a review of the first Western-released Yu-Gi-Oh! Game, which was also confusingly titled Dark Duel Stories. That game was actually called Tri-Holy God Advent in Japan and was the third game in the series. This game that I'm talking about today is the second game, which never came out in the West. But don't worry, we'll be taking a look at the Western Dark Duel Stories in the next episode.
So, with that out of the way, let us get to the stories of dark duels that lie within.
It's worth noting that this was the first game to come with actual OCG cards packed in on its release in 1999, as opposed to the generic Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards of its two predecessors, due to the launch of the OCG in Japan. Every game included 3 cards from the following pool: Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth, Insect Armor with Laser Cannon, Cyber Shield, Seiyayu, Salamandra, Crush Card Virus, Shine Palace, Harpy's Feather Duster, and Acid Trap Hole, and Kunai with Chain, all very powerful cards in their day. Due to how early in the OCG this was, the cards have no numbers or set codes printed on them, so tracking them down for a complete set can be quite difficult.
But enough about the cards, you guys are here about the game. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this series in the early Game Boy line, I would recommend you checking out my video of the previous game here first. Don't worry, it won't take very long. It just gets you up to speed a bit about the core mechanics of this series. But anyway, now, let's get on with it. Dark Duel Stories.
Like the last game, the main campaign is arranged into group tiers in which you need to beat each opponent 5 times to progress. The first time you duel them, a 5 will appear in their dialogue, and on the 5th time, a 5 will again appear. That's how you know that you've beaten them the requisite number of times. There are 4 tiers in the main game, technically 8, but more on that later, with the final being Pegasus, including characters from the Duelist Kingdom arc of the manga. Beat all the tiers and you beat the game. So simple even Joey could understand.
And now it's time to duel!
The way that the duels play is very similar between this game and its predecessor, being a simplified version of the real-world TCG. You have 5 cards in your hand which replenish each turn, and a field that can hold 5 monsters used for attacking and defending. The biggest difference is the fact that you can now play more than 1 card at a time. Now every turn you can normal summon 1 monster and as many magical trap cards as you want. That's another new thing, trap cards. Trap cards work similarly to the counter trap cards in the TCG, only activating when something specific happens. You can play as many as you want, but they will all overlap each other, so you can only use 1 per turn. And the biggest difference is that they only remain on the field for 1 turn. If you don't use them, you lose them. The last improvement to the turn structure is with the way you end your turn. Previously, you had to either select attack or defend with every single monster in play before the turn would end automatically. Now you just simply hit B and then hit end turn, greatly streamlining the process late game. In the last game, the combat essentially boiled down to field building and beatdown. You play a card, your opponent plays a card, whoever played the best card wins and gets to play another card, and so on until either victory or a crap-wrecking spell card like Rigeki. Simple, but fun. Dark Duel Stories, however, stepped things up a bit by being the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Game to introduce alignments. Put simply, it's as if every card now has a Pokemon type. They are independent of each monster's actual type, and work in battles as a rock, paper, scissors kind of effect where one alignment wins over the other and the losing monster is killed outright, even if the points are higher. The rock, paper, scissors goes like this. Water beats fire, beats forest, beats air, beats ground, beats thunder, beats water. And dark beats light, beats fiend, beats dreams, beats dark. On the surface, this seems like a good way to shake up the battling and give more value to the lesser monsters to maintain type coverage in your deck. but in practice there are a number of problems with it, especially for non-Japanese speakers. First of all, as far as I can see, the alignment of a card isn't stated anywhere in the actual game, and while most are easy guesses, I have absolutely no clue when it comes to Dark, Light, Fiend, and Dreams. I mean, you look at these 4 cards and tell me which one belongs to which alignment. You can't without trial and error. It took me a long time to memorize these alignments, and unless you're willing to do that, I honestly don't think you'll have as much fun as you could be, so it raises the barrier to entry. There is an interesting modification to fusion summoning now, though. A fusion summon no longer counts as a normal summon, so as long as you fuse before you summon a monster, you can then normal summon or do another fusion summon again, greatly increasing the viability of lower power fusions early on. You fuse the same way you do in the last game by placing a compatible monster from your hand on top of another one on the field. The fusions are mostly based on type and some other qualifiers like attack points. I'll put the most complete list of fusions I can find in the description, but they are pretty easy to work out through logic and trial and error. 2 new kinds of card were also added in this installment. There's the traps, which I've already talked about, and then there's the rituals. I'll be blunt, I hate the way the rituals were implemented in this game. I'm not entirely sure about this, but from trawling Japanese websites and my own experience, this is what I've worked out. For a ritual to work, you need to have a specific tribute monster already on the field. Then when you play the ritual spell, it will tribute that monster to summon the ritual monster, such as Blackluster Soldier or Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon or something like that. Okay, that sounds alright, you may be thinking, but here's the thing. Ritual spells are consumable, as in once you use them once, they go away forever. I found 1 commencement dance throughout my entire playthrough, and I just used it up by accident.
Now, I don't know if they are consumed in multiplayer batches, because I only have the 1 copy of the game, but regardless, I can't think of a single good reason why you would have this kind of mechanic in a collectible card game outside of sheer artistic pretentiousness. It is table-flippingly annoying. So, let's move on to something that isn't annoying, card acquisition.
Again, as with the last game, Taya gives you a card after every duel you win, with higher tier opponents dropping generally more powerful cards. But a notable improvement from last time is that now, when you get a card, they actually show you the whole card and all of its stats instead of just a number, which greatly streamlines the deck building, as now you don't need to seek out the useless cards in the chest as you get them. See, it wasn't that hard, Konami.
No. I can't give Konami any credit anymore. Not after how they've forsaken the games industry. Even if they did give me my childhood.
So anyway, the card count has been bumped up to 720 in this game, which is close to double what the last one had. And like the last one, they are in the same order as Tri-Holy God Advent, the Western Dark Duel stories, making the Prima Guide a good reference material for working out the magic and trap effects and those ritual tributes. It also lists the types and alignments of each monster, so that's handy. Now for the last gameplay update. This game was the first to introduce the mechanic of deck cost, which would stay with us through most of the Yu-Gi-Oh video games until the later GBA era. Basically, each card is assigned a value according to how good it is, and the total value of all the cards in your deck must be equal or less than your deck capacity, which increases as you play. 3 points for a loss, 5 points for a win, and 20 points for a multiplayer win, with the average mid-game beat stick costing around 25 and the premium magic cards costing over 200. Now I don't have a problem with deck cost. It's a good way of controlling power creep if it's not too overzealous, and I even kinda wish it was in the real TCG. But this game didn't stop there. On top of deck cost, it also has what's called duelist level. Your duelist level is also a number that goes up as you play, that is separate from the deck capacity. The difference is that in order to be able to even put a card in your deck, its power level must be equal or less than your duelist level. Which wouldn't be too bad, except that in order to use the card password system to get your real world cards by entering an 8-digit code found at the bottom of TCG cards, you have to spend some of your duelist level, meaning you could accidentally nuke your entire deck in one fell swoop if you're not careful. At the end of the day, duelist level is just a redundant mechanic from the series teething, and Konami obviously agreed as we never saw it again after this game.
So, who are the best guys to grind against while you're trying to boost your DC? Well, my one Japanese source I found didn't help me very much, but I'll link it in the description anyway. But here are some of my better finds.
Well, during my playthrough I did manage to get 2 Judgmans from Kaiba.
Judgmans? Judgemen? Judgmen? Judgmans. We'll go with Judgmans.
I'm pretty sure I got a Zoa from Para. Or is that Dox? And I think I got my Thunder Dragon from Simon Muran, but I'm not entirely sure. Other than that, I also got an Exodia piece from Mokuba, but according to my Japanese guide that I found, every character is supposed to give Exodia pieces, although I don't know how accurate that is. Also, while recording, I managed to get this Soul Hunter and Millennium Golem from Shadi. So, now that you've got your powerful monsters, how do they look? Compared with its predecessor, this game is like getting a new pair of glasses. It's absolutely beautiful in GBC colors. Now, I thought the last game looked pretty good, but compared with this, it looks absolutely barren. A nice touch is that each card appears to be made up of 2 separate sprites laid on top of each other, creating a cool effect during battle, although I kinda like the claw marks of the last game too. The same cannot be said, however, for the sound. It sounds okay on its own, but it's programmed weird in such a way that any time a new screen has to load, it pauses the music awkwardly.
No!
Okay, so it's not quite that bad, but it does take some getting used to. So how would one describe the AI? Well, pretty much it's like fighting Tristan if he had a decent deck. And he was being helped by the Rober brothers. It's stupid powerful and knows exactly what your face downs are, at least for the monsters. Unfortunately, in my entire playthrough I wasn't able to find a counter trap, so I couldn't test whether or not they knew those. Still, the actual difficulty of the game depends quite a bit on how much you grind, despite the uniformly inept AI. In my playthrough, I pretty much just ground as much as I needed to beat the next opponent, and I didn't use any passwords, and it took me a decent number of hours worth of train rides. And the biggest spike happened between the 2nd tier and Pegasus. This guy is tough, and it took a while to get enough powerful cards. And he also has Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. But it's a ritual, so he can only use it once. But I gotta say, while I was grinding, it was pretty addicting. The duels aren't that long once you have a slight upper hand, and once you get one good drop, you need to keep trying for a new one. And then you know that once you've done 10, you'll get 2 cards instead of 1. And then there's the opponents that you can't quite beat with your current deck, but you know if you can just draw your 2600 beat stick or a Regeki or an equip spell, that you can brute force your way through, and you're just so close and... come on! Come on, just one good draw.
Just let me finish this one game, then I'll get back to it. Yeah, just one more. Come on, Papa needs another Thunder Dragon.
Upon beating Pegasus, the main theme will play and the credits will roll, but it isn't quite over yet. Remember when I said that there were technically 8 tiers? Well, once you reset the game after the credits freeze, scroll right to the end and you'll find a new tier unlocked, which will either be Yami Yugi, Yami Bakura, Shadi, or a crazy looking Ishizu. I got Shadi.
Yagushamash!
These opponents are about as hard as Pegasus, and they drop cards just like the others. So if you beat them 5 times, like the others, do you move on to the next one, like in the last game?
No.
Okay then, do you only get 1 per playthrough?
Not quite.
So here's how it works. Every time you beat your post-game opponent, or Dark Duelist, there is a slight chance that your opponent will change into one of the other 3. What is that chance? About, I don't know, 1 in 256? But that's only according to Japanese sources. The Wikia says 3 in 4,096.
Oh my money.
There is no reason why you would grind for 250 duels 3 times over unless you are some sort of completionist nut. Only one of these opponents are available at any one time, and it's in complete random, so you could potentially grind 250 times and then get an old opponent if you manage to somehow do it twice. And unless you wanted complete completionism for like an ultimate multiplayer deck, there really is no reason why you would play this game that long. Although I guess technically this does add some replayability, as it would be quicker to get a new final boss through a completely new playthrough.
Don't pay much attention to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Wikia page for this game. It is woefully misinformed and incomplete. Do yourself a favor and just copy-paste the Japanese name for this game and try your luck with Google Translate.
But speaking of multiplayer, this game does allow you to use a link cable and trade, as well as play duels with multiple life point settings. But a neat feature is that it has backwards compatibility. You can link this game up with a copy of DM1 and trade any of the first 365 cards from one game to another, which, if you play DM1 first, will help you if you do want to do a completionist run. But be advised that you can't do duels between DM1 and DM2, so I guess you can kind of look at the backwards compatibility in the same way as Gen 1 and Gen 2 Pokemon games, and the time capsule.
Like DM1, this game is one of the cheapest video games on all of eBay, going for about $3 loose. You can even find quite a few box copies pop up now and then in pretty good condition, but these are invariably sold without the pack-in cards. So, on an overall scale of playing it to hating it, I'm definitely keeping this one. I really enjoyed my playthrough, and I hope to be able to try out the multiplayer sometime soon. And despite a few flaws, at $3, you can't go wrong. So thank you for watching my review of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters 2 Dark Duel Stories. And join me next time for when I review the first Western-released Yu-Gi-Oh! Game and the Dark Duel stories that we all knew and are kind of indifferent to. Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Duel Stories. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time.
Hey guys, sorry about how late this video is. I said it would be out in beta and, well, here we are in June. So yeah, uni just kind of swamped me, and on top of beta and, you know, everything else that happened, I just didn't have the time to get this done, so we really wanted to just kind of finally push it out the door, and unfortunately I think the script kind of suffered from that. You know, it's a bit of redundant information, and I kind of went over a lot of things that didn't really need going over, but hey, it was too late to write a new one and get this done like this half of the year. In future, a lot of more videos in this series will we just have a lot more assumed knowledge of like the mechanics of it, but you know, we'll see what happens. I said the next video would be Burnout maybe. This could still happen. I have some guys who I want to do collabs with, and you know, I'll just see what happens. I'm not putting any definite date for it to come out because, you know, look what happened with that one. I mean, the Burnout video is supposed to come out in April too. So these Yu-Gi-Oh videos are going to be a separate kind of series to my review series, where I'll be going kind of, well, mostly sequentially through all the Yu-Gi-Oh games that have come out. And yeah, it's just, Yu-Gi-Oh's a big part of my childhood, and still kind of a pretty big part of my life and my fandom, and so yeah, I just wanted to kind of be the first guy to do this and go through every single game. I might come back and remaster or revisit this game a little in the future, but we'll see what happens. So in between my main series videos, I'm going to be trying to put out some of the more smaller videos. I've got a couple of skits lined up. I've got some song parodies in the works, but the main bread and butter of this channel I still want to be the retro game reviews. So anyway, now I'll leave you with just 2 videos if you want to keep watching my stuff if you haven't seen it before. On the left here we have my review of Xenocracy on the PS1. Much overlooked space shooter on the system. It's a great one. only review on YouTube that isn't in French. And on the right here, we have a song parody that I did for Veda called The Day the Servers Died, which I'd been writing for about a year, but because of the whole Nostalrius thing, it kind of just kicked it into gear, and I finally nutted up and completed it. So anyway, leave a like, especially leave a comment. I absolutely love reading comments, even if it's critical. Please be brutal with your criticism. A lot of the things that are wrong with this episode I'm aware of that are wrong, but hey, don't let that stop you. Just, you know, pound me into the dust, because I need to get better, and having people pressure me to do that is the best way to do that. So anyway, I will see you guys next time, and here's some of that parody I was talking about. See ya.
Saw the day, though the players tried to run the game, but the servers were down, says EA, what a shame. Our patience all went up in flames, and then the servers died. And now we're singing bye-bye, all the games that have died. Lego Universe, the movies, Doctor Who, Worlds in Time, and the suits upstairs counting their gold dollar signs. Said don't worry, everything will be fine. Don't worry, everything will be fine.
Your deck must have a total deck cost, the value assigned to each card based on how good it is. Oh dear, this is a mess.